Welcome into Cats Talk Wednesday on the BS3 Network. Vinny Hardy, Terry TB Brown, and a friend of the show. We don't know
Old
how many
friend.
times he's been on here. We can't even count TB, but the program director for Sports Radio America, our guy, Michelle's Morton's probably favorite because she already tweeting about you before we got started.
Oh,
Memphis
she's
Spence is in here.
fantastic. Michelle, shout out to you, definitely. What's up, gentlemen? Man, it's been a minute. It's been a minute, but
It's always good.
back. We back. It's basketball season, so I know Kentucky and Memphis basketball squad. So we back.
That's it. That's it. So that where your eye is right now. That's where your focus is.
I mean, it was just on the NFL. See, there's so much I have to do these days. You know what I'm saying? We was just covering the combine just a minute ago. Now we have to, you know what I'm saying? Now it's like, okay, who's gonna win these tournaments? So we can go any direction y'all want. I'm available.
Do you go to Indy? Have you been to Indy in the past, or you just
Yep.
cover it from afar? How
I
you
cover
approach it?
from afar now. I don't know if I told you guys this, but in December of 2024 marked my 15th year of sports radio, and that was I actually did my last show in December of the College Credit Hour. We're starting up Sports Radio America TV, and that's why I have a little bit more time now, is because I'm focusing on the kids again, focusing on bringing up the next generation or whatnot, get my love back for the sports media circuit or whatnot. And I've been to the NFL Combine quite a bit of times. I've been to the Super Bowl once, but I've been to the NFL Combine quite a few times. Now we're sending our Sports Radio America managing editor, S.K. Patrick, and his crew up there so they can get the experiences, and the cycle continues. Each one teach one. So we can't have Memphis Spence being the only A+ analyst at the helm. We have to raise up and develop other A+ analysts, for the industry itself, but also the guys and the gals that stick around at Sports Radio America and want to build it. We need them out there. So we're focusing on getting a lot of our talent back out to these games. As you know, during COVID, it hit us hard because we were covering just about everything, and everything stopped. So everybody's out covering games now and everything else. I think everything's back open, and has been for at least for the last year. Um, so we have everybody else on the beat. I'm sitting back in the studio most of the time, collecting information, directing people, making sure that things go well, and we get the information to whom we need to get it when we need to get it to them. But yeah.
So last show of College Credit Hour, December of 2024,
Yep.
and so Sports
Sports,
America TV, Sports Radio America TV,
Sports Radio America TV. Yep.
Sports Radio America TV.
We're
Okay,
calling it SRA TV also, just a abbreviation, SRA TV.
so how can everybody check it out, and when is it going to be up and running? And
It's
and
going to be
just
launching. It's definitely going to be up and rolling for the new college football season. We were thinking it might be available. Well, we don't know if it's going to be available before March Madness. So we kind of pushed back the launch date. The apps take a while to develop and everything else. So, but SRA TV is coming. We're going to be doing a lot more. Podcasting is the thing now, especially video podcasting. Y'all been doing it for a while, but there's a lot of folks coming out of college, and we work with just about every college. I was just reviewing some resumes from, and not only we used to only get like people in their bachelor's program. Now we're getting folks in their. I was just reviewing somebody with their master's in entertainment coming out of Georgia. I was like, wow, we're really, there's a lot of people that really want to work with us and kind of get their feet wet in broadcast journalism now. But we work with over 100 universities in the United States, and a lot of them, and we cover just about every college. Um, I guess I shouldn't say meaningful. We cover pretty much the colleges that you know and follow. We cover those. So those are, I mean, there's other smaller conferences or whatnot that we don't have the staff to cover them anymore. That kind of went away during COVID. But as we rebuild, we may be able to pick up college for D2 and stuff that we used to cover prior to. But everything's going to be video. I was in a seminar and they said that 90% of the internet's going to be video in 5 years, and I was like, let's switch now. Let's get on to video and set up the television station and everything else. And then we can still do radio, we can still do written stuff or whatnot. But if everybody's going to video, we should be there too.
Hmm. So do you miss hosting? Because I mean, I told you before. I said you host it, and you could pick
Yeah,
a mini
a
topic
little.
and you could do 2 hours on a mini subtopic, and I always appreciated that. So now that you're not, do you miss being on that mic and
A little.
having the show and doing it?
I'm not gonna lie. There are some times where I'm just like, ooh, I should, something just happened. Ooh, I wish I was on today. But then there are other times where I'm just like, just relaxing, and let everybody, kind of sit back and look at, what was built and say, yeah, it's good. It's good. And just relax and let the other guys take the helm because they need to. And mistakes are going to be made. People are going to make mistakes, and as long as we're real journalists and we're correcting mistakes, I'm expecting that stuff to happen. But this next generation, if they don't have the opportunities to do the things that we did, I mean, I don't know. There's not much more that I can do with a radio career. I've broadcasted games out of the Rose Bowl. I don't know what's higher than that in college. I don't. There probably isn't anything. So, other than
That's it.
national, I haven't broadcast a
That's it.
national championship game or anything like that. But for my career is fantastic, and I'll probably be producing more sports docs here in the very near future. That's going to be fun.
Hey, good stuff, man. Good
Yeah,
stuff. So,
yeah.
congrats in advance on the launch, and
No doubt. And you all know you'll be some of the first folks that I tap, especially if we start doing a lot of these sports docs because Cats Talk Wednesday, y'all got the history. Y'all got the history of Kentucky. And that's what before AI starts telling us what our history was, we're gonna record this history. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get it
uh,
in and we're gonna start really kind of recording the quote unquote good old days. I was called I think I was called an oldie today. And I was like, oh, what's that? My
wow.
mind's still 20. I'm like, what are you talking about? But I was called an oldie today. So I'm like, well, it's about time to, start getting the history together and letting these youngsters know how it was and how it could be if we get back to that type of competition.
Yeah. You talked about stuff changing and how COVID affected everything, and we do the little grocery pickup. Everybody started doing that during COVID, and
Yeah,
and we keep doing it. And my wife is like, I don't know why we ever went in the grocery store. We should have been doing this. And
yeah,
so I pulled in, and getting the pickup, and there was some wine or something on there. You got to show your ID. The little girl says, she said, "That's the same year my dad is born." I said, "Girl, what are you trying to do?" "Oh, I didn't mean nothing. I didn't mean anything by I'm just saying he's born in April of 77." I was like, "Oh," and she stabbed me in the heart with that, man. I was like, "That's the same year my dad was born." I said, "Hey, settle down, girl. Settle down, young lady. Don't do me like
yeah,
that."
yeah, yeah.
I just wasn't ready. It just
Yeah,
slapped
it
me
just
right.
hits you
Bam.
sometimes, man. It just hits you, and you're just like, boom. What is this about? So,
And she
uh,
didn't mean anything by it, but it it hit me a little different. I was like, "Oh, she don't mean anything by it," but Lord, that same age same year my dad was born. I said, "Oh boy." Mm,
up
mm,
there,
mm.
man, and it sneaks up on you. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, because somebody was just like, "Are you gonna do anything special for your last show?" I was like, "No, I'm just, I mean, I'm one of those guys just." No, I just walk away.
Oh, okay.
Just
Okay.
walk away. I'm not. It's not
Uh-huh.
like I'm retiring for everything. I'm just
Yeah.
retiring from this. Just 15
Mhm.
years. Let somebody else have the helm. Let somebody else create. I want to hear. I'd rather hear what the market is, because I mean, I when we started Sports Radio America is fairly innovative, because we kind of flipped the model on its head. A lot of people that were doing streaming radio had terrestrial broadcast stations at the time. And what we did when we got funded, we were like, let's not go that route. Let's just start with the streaming radio part, and then syndicate and distribute to all of
Mm.
the FDA. We can do all the FCC broadcast here, just streaming and distribute it the same way, and we won't have to actually have the FCC license nor a lot of the overhead, which is kind of what our claim to fame was. We were one of the first pure play sports centric radio stations in the U.S., and that was circa 2010.
Yeah.
So that was a big step at that time. I mean, we were switching over from 2G to 3G at
Mm.
that time. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, and people were like, "What? There was a 2G? Yeah, there was." there there was a time where we didn't have any G's up there.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But all that, and just trying to figure out if we could stream something that people could listen to, because you couldn't watch anything, things would be way too choppy.
Yeah.
But if there was something that you could stream that people could listen to at a high fidelity, at the rates that most people had coming into their phones. So it was a little engineering. It wasn't really a feat, but because there are other people that already figured it out. We just needed to figure out how to do it at an affordable rate, and then kind of democratize it across all the independents, and folks, doing shows from different places around the country. But it was fun. It was fun, but that part's over. There's gonna be robots walking around in about a year and a half. It's
Mhm.
I sound old just talking about the beginning of streaming radio.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. I think you talked about little glitchy. TB got a couple little glitches, but he's trying to work out. But we'll get him back though.
That's all good.
Uh, you got the Memphis ties. You got the Memphis hat on right now. Uh, TV's got family in Memphis. So my question to
Yeah.
you was this, and we're gonna go all the different directions. But the main thing I definitely want to ask you is which team will have the most, I don't know, productive, sustained postseason? The Memphis Tigers or the Memphis Grizzlies?
Grizzlies. The Gri- and I understand why you'd ask that question, but my Tigers are eh, they're a maybe. Have you ever played spades? You have like three and a possible. The Tigers are the possible this year.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
possible. They're not one of those. You can't count a book with them, dog. They're just the possible.
Okay. Okay.
And I say that not to say that the teams that they beat aren't legitimate. Clemson's legitimate. Michigan State's legitimate. Even Missouri this year is somewhat legitimate.
Hmm.
And they killed all of them. That's not the point. The point is we're our worst enemy. And going into March Madness, you can't be your worst enemy. I looked something up in preparation for the show, and I was like, because people are going to question, man, y'all are 25-5. What the heck are you talking about? Like, no, we know we've done this long enough that we know that guard play plays huge in March Madness. It just does. We've seen years where you're like, oh yeah, you got inside, blah blah blah, and the Edie years where he's not going anywhere. We've seen big men fail because people play small ball and take that away,
Mm.
control the clock, and March Madness is played different than the regular season. So when it comes to, and we've seen this year after year, I don't know why people doubt it. Guard play is paramount during the tournament, and if you start looking at one of the stats that goes underappreciated throughout the whole season, but shows up big in the tournament, is your assist to turnover ratio from your
Mm.
guards. And once you start keying in on that, and you see where Memphis is amongst the entire basketball world, and you're like, how did they ever win 25 games? because we will let you back in the game by turning the ball over late. And that's happened time over time over time. Now, we still might be able to shoot our way out of it because we are one of the top 3-point teams in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
But we're working against ourselves. We clean up the turnovers, and that's like a Final Four team. But they haven't cleaned up the turnovers against anybody all year. I just watched them against UTSA to win the American Athletic Conference Championship, and I think within a 5-minute span to close the game out, they had 8 turnovers. I'm like, guys,
Mm-hmm.
what you do? It's March. What are you doing? And
Oh.
so that because of that issue, I can't in good conscience say that this team might get to the Sweet 16, but it's going to shoot itself in the foot. Probably because of 2 reasons. Number one, I don't know where we're going to get seeded. We're probably the tourney loves to give us an 8 seed and put us with a 1 in the second, second round, which isn't
Mm-hmm.
really fair to anybody. But but they love to have Penny up against whoever the number 1 seed is, especially if it happens to be a 1 seed that he's seen this year already. But two, the turnovers, I don't trust. I trust our guards to make a late game 3 much more than I trust them to hold a 10-point lead with 5 minutes left, which
Wow.
is crazy. And you can't really just you just I've watched enough this year that I'm like, we can't hold a lead. We're not gonna. It's not conducive to winning or going long distances in the tournament if you can't hold a lead and you have a 10-point lead against inferior teams.
That I mean, just the way what you just said, you trust them to make a clutch 3
I
more than hold a double-digit lead.
Yes,
That's where they
I
are.
I trust them. I trust there's like 4 dudes on Memphis that are shooting better than 35% from the 3-point line. I think we're like, at one point we were 3rd in the nation. I think we're like 10th or 11th in 3-point percentage right now. I trust them to make, if it's a late game 3-pointer that we need, we got that.
No
If it's
worries.
holding on to a 10-point lead with 5 minutes to go, I don't know, guys. It's a coin toss. Seriously.
I I
And
asked I don't know if you heard, Terry, I asked Memphis the most Memphis-centric question I could come up with. I asked him, who did he think would have the most sustained or most, productive, most satisfactory postseason? It's the Memphis Tigers or the Memphis Grizzlies. And that's where
Grizzlies,
he's, and he's going with the Grizzlies doing better in the postseason
easy,
than the Tigers. And he's kind of explaining why. That's what's happening.
easy.
I got you.
What do you think, Terry?
I tell you, Memphis near dear to my heart. They still rocking with Penny down there,
Yeah,
because people getting pitchforks and stuff for him, and I keep telling folks like it's
no,
different.
it
It's
is,
different.
and I think a lot of
He didn't
people
just play at
figure that out.
Memphis. Like
Right,
he is from Memphis. Like
he is Memphis. You're right.
right.
So he was
It's
he was
completely different. He didn't just play. He wasn't just All American. I'm just saying he. It's going to take a lot for them to get him out of Memphis.
He has a
Like y'all
well,
think that some
unless
losing
the
seasons? No, man.
NCAA,
They
unless
rocking
the
with Penny.
NCAA decides, hey, we're going to give him a lifetime ban,
Mm.
then Penny will be around. And I know they've tried to haul him out of there before,
Right.
and it's not happening. He's going to be the coach of Memphis until he wants to leave. He has a reason to leave,
Yeah.
and or he gets a lifetime ban or something from college sports.
because that whole, he had to
Yes.
hire an entire staff at the start of the season, and I was like, "What's going on
Yep.
in Memphis?" And the
Yep.
locals weren't even worried about it. Just bring in a new staff, and
Nope.
it's your world down here, Penny.
And it's interesting because ESPN's not worried about it either. They're like, "Oh, y'all, hold on a penny up, right? Ratings. We've seen, and you guys know this. We've seen. I mean, stars make ratings, right? And we've seen plenty of times where you have these stars and like Nick Saban. Nick Saban could be playing the School of the Blind, and still there's going to be 2.5 million people to show up to watch Alabama kill the School of the Blind, in
Yeah.
part because of Nick Saban. Same thing with Dion. When you have stars on your sideline, people show up and watch. It's Memphis is the same thing. That the value of Penny Hardaway being over there is paramount to just about anybody. I don't. There's nobody else in our conference that garners the eyeballs that
Mhm.
Penny Hardaway does in basketball. There's probably not many people in other conferences that garner the eyeballs that Penny Hardaway is. And if you're trying to figure out like, well, why isn't Memphis in another conference? That's honestly one part of it.
Mm.
ESPN is trying to find the value of having because they own the rights to the American Athletic Conference.
Okay.
If you pull and they pretty much broadcast almost every game that Penny's in. But if you pull, this Nike signature athlete off the sideline or to another conference, then what they've paid for this conference in terms of the basketball rights, because that's still a part of it, it's almost null and void because there aren't any stars. It doesn't. If you look at the other games, they're not really attracting a whole lot of viewership or anything like that. And
Mhm.
they're like, we paid. We're in this $1 billion contract in part because Penny Hardaway's there. We have something to
Wow.
get that billion back.
Wow.
And if we let him gallivant off to a conference that doesn't have a contract like the Pac-12 right now, or that we're only going to have part of the contract, not the whole thing, so we can't control it, then we're going to lose value immediately.
Mm.
And there's a lot of people that don't understand like the business side of what's going on, and the boosters know it. The folks that listen to me and my crew, obviously we know it, but there are a lot of people like, well, what are you sticking around for? I was like, well, we're being told to stick around. ESPN's not going to let Memphis roll unless they're going to a conference that ESPN controls,
Mhm.
or at least is in bed for the rights, because they're going to have to get that value back. They don't want him to go to somewhere that the CW controls or Fox controls or something like that, because they
Mhm.
instantly lose value, and that's not what they're in this for. So there's that. There's only a few Nike signature athletes. He's one of them. He demands a camera,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people that watch specifically just to hate on him, just to hate. They want to see him lose, but
Mhm.
those are still viewers. And so you get into these situations where, okay, are we going to get the actual value out of Penny Hardaway if we move here or there? And there's a whole lot of stuff going on behind the scene that maybe your average fan doesn't understand, but trust me, ESPN is one of the reasons why Memphis is still in the American Athletic Conference.
Mm. Mhm. One guy with that much
A lot,
panache, you should
a
say.
lot.
Yeah. That's
Not as much as Dion. Dion's numbers
yeah,
are nonsense.
yeah.
Nonsense.
Yeah. And so many people hate watched him too. I mean,
Yeah.
Florida State fans hate watching him
Yes.
from the jump, man. Just because
Those
he said,
count. I mean, the same thing with Nick Saban. I mean, look, Aflac, they're not. They deal with insurance. They're not crazy. They got Nick Saban and Deion Sanders, the two coaches people hate. You're gonna watch it because people hate it, and you're just adding 2 + 2, and it always equals 4. So, but I get that people may feel a certain type of way about Penny Hardaway, especially if you're a Cincinnati fan or a Louisville fan or a Vols fan or something like that. But you're gonna show up and watch him anyway, or hate bet on him. I have people hate betting on him now. I'm not gonna say any names, but if you're watching, you know who you are. Um, but there's a lot of people that uh, that are doing things specifically to hate on Penny Hardaway. And but he draws that kind of ire. He's a very hot button topic, and because of that, he's marketable.
is there anything more reckless or irresponsible than hate betting? I mean, that's if that's on you, but man, hate betting?
hate betting.
Oh, like, come on now.
Hate betting, and this year you probably haven't been that profitable. Just betting against FanDuel at 25-5, it may not be a good habit for you to be in.
Right.
Um,
If it's not, it's everybody knows, those who do it especially, it's risky.
Yeah.
And I'm not a gambling man, but those who are it's risky. And then if you're gonna add hating is your motive. I'm hate betting.
hate
You're just
betting.
you're asking for.
That's what they're doing. They hate betting.
I mean, how many times has me, from a sport take standpoint, Duke? You turn on Duke, and Virginia Tech or Clemson or any Pitt, whoever has them on the ropes, their Duke's down 8 with 6 minutes left. And I'm like, oh, come on, clock. Tick, tick, tick.
Right.
And more often than not, Duke will get it done and, come out with the win before time runs out. If I'm betting on that, in addition to just the hate, I can't imagine Memphis. That's crazy.
You'd probably not. You probably, some people are, but people are silly, and some people just do things, and that's what gets them going. Are going to hate bet. Hate betting is happening a lot more that I see, and people are betting, and it may be one way or another. They may bet that they're going to win just to try and jinx them to lose. I mean, it's crazy, and I'm just like, why you guys? You need to invest. Don't gamble. Invest. That's what I've been saying for 15 years.
You sure
I'm
have.
fine, but I'm good. But folks are out here, throwing the farm, betting against the most hated coach that they have, and it's funny to see. It's interesting to interact with these folks, but it's still funny to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if get you back. You good, TB?
Oh, TB's
Well,
back.
we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Right.
We got blizzard conditions and the cornfields and stuff like that. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I think I'm good.
Man, you put the tweet out of that pile up on I-35 with everybody trying to drive and just wreck. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, man, that's it's crazy stuff out here because it's good that it's flat, but it's also bad that it's flat. Like, because people just assume even on good days it's flat, I can just roll with it. But no, man, if we got stuff out here, we got frozen fog. Like, there's all these conditions. I'm like, I don't know what this is. It sounds terrible. Watch out for the midnight ice storm. Like, what?
Midnight ice storm.
Like, they just be throwing stuff out. I'm like, I don't know what that is. But my wife is like, oh, that's not a big deal. That just means when it gets to be minus 40, that's just like, what?
I mean, I'm just looking at my phone. I'm like, oh, it's 71 in Tampa.
Hey,
I'm just saying.
It's been, I think we only got to minus 20 a couple of weeks ago. But Memphis last year, Vinny will tell you, because I think we had a show when we got hit by that snowstorm last year. Memphis, 3 feet of snow outside my house. It was minus like 45 degrees.
Nope.
It was as cold as I've ever been.
Go for that.
Like,
go for it, Terry.
The thing is, when it's hot, even in the summertime in the South, you hear stuff, right? There's crickets, there's birds, there's whatever. When it's cold, there's nothing except your own heartbeat. It's like you on the moon. You're like, yeah, it's something else, man.
No, I can't do it. I remember those years in Chicago, and I was just like, I couldn't. I walked out one day and it was -1, and I was like, "Is that Celsius? Is that Fahrenheit?" It's -1. No.
And that's what I told my baby, because she's at Aurora University right outside Chicago. She's a freshman. She's doing her thing, playing lacrosse. But I told her, I said, baby, you need to get a winter coat. She said, Dad, I got one. I said, no, they don't sell winter coats in Kentucky, baby. You need to get a coat.
A winter coat.
And I want to say that it was maybe the week or two after Labor Day, right? When that wind changes, like it ain't even got to be cold. It'll still be like 50 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
But that wind hits you like pow, and you like, okay, right?
Cuts right through you.
The numbers ain't that bad, but it's the wind, man.
Cuts right
this upper Midwest ain't no joke with that wind. That's why I told you, Vinny, you going to Green Bay, pack a coat.
Yeah.
And you're like, but it's October whenever you win. I was like, hey, don't get it twisted. You're gonna be sitting in the stadium and that wind's gonna just right in your face.
Yeah.
I went and saw my Cowboys lose to the Packers a couple years ago in Lambeau, Memphis. It was November like 10th or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was
bad, but it's still...
we stopped in Chicago. Me and my buddy hit some Giordano's and I got out the car and I went, oh, the wind was howling around the boulevard, and I was like, and I was talking about, all the local people were like, yeah, this ain't nothing. This ain't even cold yet. I was like, oh, and so I started seeing what y'all were talking about. So
we had a windstorm, which I didn't know was a thing last week, where it's just 50 miles an hour winds, not gusting, just blowing, not gusting, Vinny, just blowing 50 miles an hour. And
straight line.
Yeah.
Straight line winds.
Yeah. Ain't no joke. That's but crazy. Anyway, back to sports.
Back to sports.
Back to sports.
Woo!
Memphis, where are you on the Luka to LA?
Oh
thing?
No, that was there may be some jobs opening up as for GMs, and both of us are more qualified, Terry, than what happened there. I mean, if you look at what the value was, I understand why the NBA allowed it. But then again, you look and you're like, that's a trade that is going to go down in infamy as very suspicious for Silver actually allowing that to happen. Because you're talking about market value just leaving and rolling over to the Lakers. Well, that's what happened. And just because the rest of the roster there on Dallas, I think I just heard Kyrie Irving got injured. Didn't
he? ACL. Well, they were playing him 40 minutes a night since they got rid of Luka. The wheels are going to fall off because he's not built for those kind of minutes anyway. So I don't know what Dallas is doing.
They need a new GM, but get your resume to Dallas quickly because they're gonna need a new GM, and because that's one of the most head scratch. And like I said, I can't believe the commissioner allowed that. You know how there's these crazy things that you do in like NBA 2K or whatnot, trading folks or whatever. That felt like one of those. Like, what do you mean Luke is going to play with LeBron in LA? What is this? What are we doing? No, they're not going to allow that. Oh, it's okay. They allowed this trade. All right, let's see how this works out. But the injuries are going to haunt Dallas, and I can't believe they traded away the franchise. It just doesn't make. They were in the playoffs. They were in the championship
finals. They were in the finals, yeah. Mm-hmm. And he didn't seem disgruntled. Usually, the Lakers will get the disgruntled ones, right? Wilt got to be disgruntled. Going back a little bit, Kareem was disgruntled.
Yeah,
and said, "We get out of here."
Yeah.
But it didn't seem like Luka hated it. Looked like he loved it. That's the crazy thing to me. And as someone pointed out, Vinny, like I've been telling you, basically since the Lakers moved to LA in 1960, there have been 7 seasons where they did not have a super duper star and only 3 seasons where they didn't have a Hall of Fame player on the roster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Magic retires in 91. And they were really good between 91 and 96, right? That's Nick Van Exel, Eddie Jones, Cedric Ceballos, right? Eldon Campbell, Divac, right? They were pretty good.
Yeah.
But that ain't going to move it in LA. And then they signed Shaq in 96, draft Kobe in 96.
Yep.
Then between Kobe and LeBron, that 2 years, that's it. Since 1960, the Lakers have had a super duper star on the roster.
That's crazy.
And that's what works. I mean, honestly, that's what brings the NBA a lot of value. That because having LA when you have your stars in your biggest markets, because we know, unfortunately, the Knicks, the Knicks have been the Knicks for quite a while. But if you have your biggest stars in the biggest markets, that's what brings value to the league. And this felt like tampering. I was like, isn't Dallas big enough to hold on to this star? Does LA have to have this star too? It felt like tampering, and I don't know. Like, I understand why Silver would want to do it. I just can't believe he's a commissioner and allowed, because the other teams had to be asking, well, wait a minute, how can this be approved? Even on a value basis, why would you do this?
Yeah.
It's up there with the Pau Gasol trade.
It is.
Like you see what we gave up for Pau Gasol. Like I can't remember the dudes.
And the funny thing is, in that trade, I was like, okay, it's LA and Memphis. Memphis is a mid-market team.
Right.
If you're looking at it, you're like, all right, this is a mid-market team. I could understand why you would want the value of this player in LA on a grander macro scale. We're talking about Dallas. Dallas Fort Worth is what, fifth in DMA. I mean, it's one of those like, wow, if they can't hold on to a star. There's little. I'm surprised, that that anybody can hold on to. I'm surprised there's stars in Boston. I mean, if Dallas can't hold on to a star, so something felt fishy about it, and I don't know. Especially because of where they were as a franchise.
Right.
You just got back from the finals. You're running it back. Yeah, let's trade away our best player. What? When does that ever happen? When has the best player on a team ever been traded, unwillingly traded away?
Right. Because he didn't. Because if you remember the night the news broke, it was a Kentucky game, Vinny, that was late, and I was getting ready to wrap it up. And then I saw that Shams tweet. I'm like, did he get hacked? That's what everybody kept saying. Yeah. I started seeing all the tweets. Shams got hacked. And I'm like, well, let me find the Shams tweet. Then he's like, nope, this is what's going on. And it's like, that's when social media is at its best. Yeah. When you get those moments where it's just everybody experiencing something in real time.
Like, what?
Yeah.
What in the world? But look, as a Lakers fan, I'll take it. Thank you very much. we are now a 2 seed, and we were able to take care of our nemesis, the Denver Nuggets. We've got a pretty good plan against Jokic, it looks like, which is crazy to say. You get rid of Anthony Davis, and the defense gets better, and they have no height. So I have no idea how JJ Redick is doing it.
Yeah.
No clue. I don't know if it'll translate to the playoffs. All I know is they're the Lakers. This is what they do, right, Vinny? What have I been saying since we've been doing the show? Give us two top guys, and we will figure it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I've tweeted that, and people are like, well, they lost at one time. 2 stars, and we figure it out. That's 17 championships, which is better than your team is doing unless you're Boston, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about salary caps or anything like that. I just know, give us 2, we'll figure it out.
I don't know if you know Mike Leslie, Memphis. He covers the Cowboys, the Mavericks. He's down here in Dallas and covers everything. But he just tweeted out basically a daily journal of what happened for the Mavs in the month of February. Starting on the 1st, the Mavs traded Luka to the Lakers. On the 2nd, Nico Harrison has a press conference. On the 4th, Luka introduced by the Lakers. Mavs trade Quentin Grimes to the Sixers. On the 7th, the Mavs introduced AD. On the 8th, AD debuts, dominates, then gets hurt. The 9th, Dirk Nowitzki attends Luka's Lakers debut. Mavs eject fans for saying fire Nico at the Mavs game. On the 12th, On the 12th, SMU student section chants "Fire Nico" with Nico in the building.
They right.
February 15th, Mavs assistant Daryl Armstrong arrested for aggravated assault. 21st, the infamous Mavs music video with the players edited out. That same day, Dirk also talks to the ticket and talks about how weird all of this has been. The 25th, Luka makes his debut against the Mavs, leads the Lakers to the win with a triple-double. The 28th, the new Luka mural is unveiled in Dallas. March the 1st, Quentin Grimes scores 44 points. After he's been traded from the Mavs to the Sixers, he drops 44 for Philly. March the 3rd, the Mavs raise season ticket prices 8%. Kyrie goes down with a knee injury, goes up, knocks down his free throws, then leaves the game. And then he's diagnosed with a torn ACL. He says, I can't think of a timeline worse for a single team in a very long time. Absolute insanity from the word go until now. So that's the Mavs month.
But think about this though. Dallas, I think we undersell how good Dirk Nowitzki was because they didn't give him a whole lot of anything, and he out there by himself with a broken down Jason Kidd, too small Jason Terry, Sean Marion, like JJ Barea, and that dude's getting it done against the Heatles, and he's got like no all-stars. I think he had like one all-star during his run that he played with was with Josh Howard the one year.
Right.
One of those, like, whatever happened to that guy, right? He was great for one season, you forgot about it. But like, this is what Dallas does. Like, this has been their thing is we're going to get rid of Steve Nash and then give you like, this is bad, right? The Mavs are just this organization going back to the, going back to the Jamal Mashburn, Jason Kidd, Jim Jackson.
Yeah.
Was that? It wasn't Halle Berry. It's Tony Braxton, wasn't it?
Tony Braxton,
right? And so
allegedly.
Yeah, right. I don't want to get
allegedly.
I don't want to get sued, but allegedly, the Mavs have just been weird. You got not Ronaldo Blackman, but
he was there back in
Roy Tarpley.
Right?
Yeah, with all that.
And I haven't heard his name I forgot he was there. I forgot he was there.
So Dallas has just been weird, man.
Tarpley, Mark Aguirre was there, got traded to Detroit.
Wow.
Yes.
Derek Harper was there.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. Dallas has just been weird, man. That's how good Dirk was. He took that franchise to 2 finals and won 1.
Sure did. Wow.
Yeah, Dirk was fantastic.
When you put it like that, TB, that's
and that was Cuban. That's the current ownership. That's who it was in the 80s. Like, the Mavs have just been wild when you look at it. You know, when you start looking at the talent they've let go, I didn't think they did right by Michael Finley. Like, I mean, we can toss that out there, but the Mavs, hey, even with Cuban, it ain't been great.
Yeah, I was listening to my guy, Kevin Gray. He used to be over here, and he's big in Dallas now, and he was going through that same thing. Like, the Mavs, they've done themselves a disservice for a long time, and they've played kind of almost small ball, cheap ball, you know, and gotten away with it for a long time, and competed with it. And that, I mean, if it's working, you know, why not? When you have somebody like Dirk around. But could you imagine a day where they're like, you know, I know we just got to this first, you know, finals with Dirk. Let's trade him away. No, you always keep the franchise. And that's why I don't understand what Nico did. Well, I remember telling my wife about it. She was like, wait a minute, is the GM black? I was like, yeah, honey, I'm sorry.
but he's also the Nike dude that fumbled the Steph deal. Exactly.
And that's why I was like, I don't even know how he got, you know, the opportunity to lead this team into destruction. But here we are. Here we are.
Yeah.
It's Dallas, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, maybe Memphis just kind of replaces Dallas in the whole in the hierarchy of the NBA now. Maybe
Memphis replaces Dallas.
it's probably going to happen.
As long as Ja keep it together.
Yeah, as long as he's not in the streets, right?
Yeah,
as long as Ja's daddy realize he ain't the one that needs to be in the club.
Right.
See, that's the thing too, man. Your parents can't be out here like they trying to be in the club, man.
Again.
Like
what are you doing? Sit down.
Yeah, just sit down and chill. You ain't even got to be courtside.
Right.
Nope. Just sit down somewhere. Chill out.
I'm gonna go watch my baby girl play. I don't need to be out there yelling at the referees. And what are you doing?
Trying to get a check.
Right. Like, let me just be up here cheering from afar. Come on.
In the suite. It's in the suite.
In the suite.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You ain't got to be out there yelling at Shannon Sharp. Come on, man. if Ja in the league, you too old for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's
it is.
Like, what are you doing?
He really
you can't be out in the club. And they cut to his dad in the crowd. I'm like, you know good and well you went to a store and got them clothes and you didn't know none of the songs on the intercom. I went shopping with my youngest a couple weeks ago. Stores them all. I pay no attention to. We in and out. And they playing this. She's like, you know this song? I'm like, I do not know what this is. I'm like, this store is too loud. The lights is too bright. I don't know what this is. What is this sizing? Like, what is this? A La Grande? I don't know what that is. Can I get a large? Well, no, sir. Like, this ain't Starbucks. This is closed. Hey. What are y'all doing?
Right.
But it ain't for me.
Right.
Like we talked about. We all born in 77. The cutoff for what's popular is like 18 to 49.
That's about right.
We getting out of that window. Stuff ain't built for us no more. Right? The places I go to play the music I like is the grocery store. I go to the grocery store on Sunday. I'm like, wait a minute now. Okay. Apple bottom jeans. Okay. All right. Like,
I ain't gonna lie to you. I had a doctor's appointment earlier today. And they were getting down at the doctor's office. I was like, no, they can't be playing,
Getting old is different, man. I don't know if y'all saw this on Twitter. Supposedly, they're going to come out with the final Friday. And they bringing everybody back. And I was like, I'm interested. Let me Google. Ice Cube right now is older than John Witherspoon was in the original Friday.
Ooh,
John Witherspoon was 53. Ice Cube is 55, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones was 53.
Yes. So what you look, if you and Day Day and Smokey still smoking up and ain't doing nothing and hanging out, almost 60. Come on now.
Not at 60.
What, like, you still trying to get a job?
Yeah.
Craig's still trying to get a job.
And fired on your day off. You know he's trying to get a job.
Like,
fired on his day off.
What's this Friday going to be about? I need to get some linen for my knees.
Something like that, man. They're going to break into a cemetery.
Yeah. Got to get my CPAP machine. Like, what are you doing now? Come on now. Anyway, bring it back.
Man.
March Madness.
Yes, absolutely. Hey.
Let me ask y'all, what's going on in the SEC? The SEC, I've known y'all for a long time. The SEC used to be a football league, and I think it still is, even though I don't know, man. It's the Big Ten's been winning championships here lately. It's kind of weird. It feels like the 90s again. But now, this year, what is it? There's 8 ranked SEC teams this year.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's nuts. And I just watched Texas A&M take out Auburn last night, and I was just like, what is this? How did the SEC get here? And what I guess it's NIL money, but what else? What you all cover the SEC even closer than I do. How did SEC get this good in basketball?
I just think they decided to be good at basketball. I think that's part of it. Is when you looked around a few years ago, and it, because it's always been Kentucky and whoever decides to be good that year. Right.
Exactly.
That's how it looks. Like all these teams, Vinny and I talk about all the time. oh, Tennessee goes 5-5 against Kentucky over a stretch, and they thump at their chest, but then it's like 170 something to 50 something, right? Like it's that's how it always goes when you look at the SEC. It's 98 wins for Kentucky, 20 for the other team.
Right.
But I just think that they finally got to the point of we can take this seriously, because I think it was 2014 when I think we only got 3 SEC teams in.
I think
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Now 2 of them made the Final Four,
Mm-hmm.
but only 3 got in, and everybody had a lot of jokes. And the big thing was we got
jokes.
Yeah,
I was like, if you're playing spades in the SEC right now, you got 2 in a possible.
Right.
You know,
right.
So,
That's crazy.
So hey, I had jokes, but now it's serious. Like it's day in, day out. You can't sleep on anybody. I mean, Florida is back. You know,
it's coaches,
the hires,
it's facilities, it's fan bases actually caring about basketball. Because as good as Florida was during that back-to-back, they weren't selling out.
They was waiting on spring practice to start.
Like you could just walk up and see the 2-time defending champions and get in for $10, right? And so the crazy thing is all these teams, SEC teams in the top 10 and all this, and one of those teams isn't even Kentucky. That's the crazy thing.
That's
and
right.
So with everybody raising up their game, like there's no easy outs. Like I know LSU last night. But Vanderbilt used to be a give me. You gotta buckle up to go to Vanderbilt now.
Yeah, they're back to the Grand Coach Stallings days. You know, where you're like,
look at Tennessee, and look, I can't stand Tennessee, and but go back to when they hired Pearl. You
exactly.
know,
and that's when they really got good.
Yeah, Kentucky come down here. I go quite often, and then Tennessee starts raising up their season ticket prices. They start putting Kentucky in this little 3 or 4 game bundle where you just can't get Kentucky as a single game. And ever since then, their prices are going up and haven't come back down. You know, they Pearl gets his little barbecue deal, gets his show calls and has to leave. Barnes is a solid coach, and they still sustaining a higher level more consistently than they have outside of Ray Mears for the bulk of their time playing.
But I just don't trust Barnes. I don't trust Barnes to win almost anything. Like he's when I was covering him at Texas and I saw that he couldn't win with Kevin Durant, I was like, no, you can't have generational talent and tell me you can't win. You can't at least get to a Final Four. It just doesn't.
And DJ Augustin, like that team had 3 pros. Right. That team, like, had one. It wasn't just Kevin Durant. He had 3 NBA dudes.
See, Tennessee thinks I'm hating on them. I'm like, no, it's really Rick Barnes. Like you let a guy that could win you a championship walk, and you hired Rick Barnes. That's what your issue is, and you think that he's better? No. He's not better than Bruce Pearl. He never was better than Bruce Pearl. And Bruce Pearl can do a whole lot. I remember Bruce Pearl back when I was at Evansville for 1 year. Bruce Pearl, I met him on the side of a gym. He was recruiting at a gym in southern Indiana. That man, he's relentless, and he does so much. He was trying to get my buddy to go to leave Evansville and go play over there. And I was like, man, he literally is a like a bloodhound when it comes to talent. And he can do so much more with less. And that's why I was like, ooh, going to Auburn, they actually might do something. And they have.
Already been to a Final Four.
I can't even, if Bruce Pearl, not taking anything away from who you have now, but if Bruce Pearl went to Kentucky, that's just championships. I mean, because that's a coach that I know would be able to figure out whatever needs to be figured out in order to win a championship if he had Kentucky talent. He doesn't. He has Auburn talent. But he's still doing more with Auburn talent. If he would still be, Tennessee would probably have a championship right now if Bruce Pearl was still there. I don't know why they got rid of him. I would have brought him back after the show cause. I would have stood by him like we stood by Penny. I think that's why they're mad. We're standing by Penny. No. If you stood by Bruce Pearl, you probably have a champion or at least a Final Four, at least something to show for it.
You know, at least the joke, you know, why do all the golf courses in Knoxville have 14 holes? would have gone away because they can't play the Final Four. That joke still exists because they never made it, and it's so yeah.
And I thought it was going to happen way back in the day when I was watching Allen Houston. I was like, man, y'all can't get to a Final Four with Allen Houston. But no, I mean, it's still a joke today. And I'm like, okay. And then you hire Rick Barnes. I'm like, well, then you solidified not getting to that Final Four by hiring Rick Barnes, because he's not going to do it. If you can't do it with Kevin Durant, he's not doing it.
They still whining about Zach Edey from last year. Oh, he got away. The Tennessee fans are. They still whining about Edey. He was fouling. The griping and the whining and the fussing about because the Elite Eight lost to Purdue. They still fussing about that.
And when you look at all the teams that have never been to a Final Four, I just saw the graphic the other day. There's only about a handful, right? Because most other teams at some point have stumbled into a Final Four.
Just tripped into one. Like, it was funny because, there was a Vols fan that was making fun, like, ha, you're playing Wichita State. And I was like, well, they've been to a couple of Final Fours. What's y'all's excuse? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's always there are teams that don't even, they're lower level D1 squads, and they're getting to Final Fours. You know what I'm saying?
Drake University here in Des Moines has been to a men's Final Four in 1969.
Exactly.
And Tennessee hasn't. Like, as
George Mason.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, come on, guys. You have to tell me that at some point in time you had a better squad than that George Mason squad. Just there's got to be a reason. And it's usually it's not usually the talent, because their talent goes to the NBA and does pretty well. It's usually their coaching. And when they start making decisions to hire a guy that showed that he's like, hey man, I am the definition of good enough. And that's what
I am the Jeff Fisher of college coaches.
Ooh.
I wasn't gonna say that.
Even though Jeff Fisher went to a Super Bowl, but he
got to a Super Bowl. Because
you're right. But other than that, it's 8-8. You may get a 9-7, you may get a 7-9. But you're gonna go 8-8.
More like, I don't know, maybe more like Jason Garrett, because he's Mr. 8-8 as well without getting to a Super Bowl.
Right, there you
go. Jason Garrett.
Don't I know?
Jason Garrett is perfect because Jason Garrett's the look the part all-star, right? He looks the part. He looks like a coach. He looked like, yeah, man, he does everything that you think is good for coaching, except he doesn't win big. He just doesn't. He doesn't get there. And
three straight win and we're in years against a division rival.
Yep.
Got our keep kicked in by Philly, Washington, whatever you name it. We lost 8-8, 8-8, 8-8. We bump up and go 12-4 one year, losing playoffs, don't make it to the title game. The next year we go 4-12. What's that get you? Still averages out to 8-8.
8-8.
500, baby.
So but yeah, I think it's Rick Barnes, and and honestly, I think Dana White's going to figure that out. He's going to be like, look, what would be rat poison for the state of Tennessee is if somehow Penny takes this team that really hurts themselves more than anything else, and will decide to give you the ball 4 times within a minute. I've watched this before. 4 times within a minute in the second. Just, hey, come back into this game. I know we're up by 10. Come back in. If he can get that team farther than where the Vols take their team, then the writing's on the wall. Because this is a year that's kind of, if you don't get to the Final Four this year, because you can make some comparisons about the team a couple of years ago, the 2019 team. You don't really. There's not a lot of, oh well, Zach Edey got a whole lot of calls. So, everybody always gets calls, and a lot of times you're losing the battle at some point in time, but you overcome that. Basketball is a game of overcoming the obstacles. And, people are like, well, we can't beat the refs and the team, whatever. I've watched Duke. I've watched Kentucky. I've watched Kansas beat the refs and other teams plenty of times. You either can or you can't. And your team's either good enough or it's not. And that's not, you can come up with excuses and you can live in excuse land, or you can be like, well, wait a minute. In situational basketball, is Rick Barnes the guy? And you sit there and you think, and you're like, in every situation where he should be doing this or he should change the defense to this here, he doesn't. Why not? Why doesn't he do that? Does he know to do that? Does anybody on his staff know to do that? So, and that's all it is. It's not as if he doesn't have the players to win. He's not winning these games, and you usually put it on a coach, but Pitino, with those same players, Pitino would have at least 2 championships. And I'm not going to say it's a fact, but I would, if you're asking me, gun to head, given these same players, who you gonna roll with to the Final Four? Pitino or Rick Barnes? Yeah. Pitino, without question.
Pitino is on that short list of, if you just said, okay, we're gonna spin a big wheel, and wherever it lands, Pitino's gonna coach that team. Yeah. That team will be better. Exactly. Like I love Mark Pope. Exactly. Love Mark Pope. Exactly. But Pitino could get those guys to be better. Like, he's on that short list. Really I believe any team in the country that even the ones you think, oh, this team is very good. You think Pitino's gonna let LSU play like they did last night?
Nope. It ain't happening. Right? He's not rolling a team like that out there. As a matter of fact, where Louisville was just a couple of years ago, out there in the wastelands, would never happen under Pitino. It just doesn't. And Izzo, another guy, it's not going to happen. They won't allow it to happen because at some point in time, Rick Barnes is like, this is good enough. He's doing it to himself. This is good enough. Hey, we won a regular season championship in the SEC. That's good enough. That it's his mentality that's actually holding the team back, not the team holding him back.
Absolutely. I concur.
Man, Memphis, we have enjoyed this. And
always good, man.
Yes, hey, man, I got more time now. We have more hot takes.
We gonna get you on. We gonna get you on, most definitely.
We'll do it for sure. So
no doubt.
Thank you so much. Congrats on the soon to be launch of Sports Radio America TV. Congratulations on that.
Hell yeah.
Holler at us about that doc you got in the works.
There's going to be a few of them. We'll definitely, we may have to collab on a couple of them because collecting, both of you are also, that's why I love coming on your show. But Vinny, I like to collect history, especially sports history, and given the opportunity to do it in a format like film, it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait just to get started on some of these projects.
Man, looking forward to seeing what you got coming, man. So
yeah, it's going to be fun. Absolutely. Fun, challenging, and fun at the same time.
That's just the way you like it, man. Just the way you like it.
So that's the way. That's the way old Gen X runs. We like challenges. I was telling people the other day. I was like, man, you see all this lovey-dovey stuff. People allowing people to score just so they can get their contract and everything. That never happened. You come in the lane back in the day, man. Bill Laimbeer had that 1-2 for you. You know what I'm saying? Charles Oakley. You might get headbutted in the lane coming in there with Charles. It wasn't. We had to fight to get anything that we got. We're the eternal hustlers, and that's just what we know. So challenges, love them, bring them on. It's almost like there's a new life. Like, ooh, I'm gonna get to do this. So yeah, and we'll definitely collab on especially some of these docs, maybe some of the especially historical ones about that rivalry. A lot of people that have never lived in Kentucky don't understand what that Louisville-Kentucky rivalry is really about. It's one of the best rivalries, period. Nope. I'd say top 10, period, across all sports.
No doubt.
Fist fight at a dialysis clinic, and I'm just gonna. You can start there. You can.
I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna take some notes. We're gonna get that in there. Fist fight. We need a reenactment of a fist fight at a dialysis clinic.
But like, but not at a regular doctor's office. Because
No,
I'm like, you go dialysis, aren't you hooked up
yeah.
to something?
Right.
Like, how,
Right.
how does an argument get to that point where you pull your machine with you to
Yeah.
fist fight while you're on dialysis?
Why you
Yes.
hooked up? You hooked to the machine. It's crazy.
Yes.
My kidney's bad, his kidney's bad, but he got to get these hands.
Right.
Got to
Right.
happen.
Right. We want to see who's going to see Jesus today, dog.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Oh man, that's a good time. Good time, man.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate you guys bringing me on. I love to
Yes,
do
sir.
this. Shout out to all you Cats Talk Wednesday fans out there. Love you guys. Love the fan base, and I'll be back soon. You'll see me.
All right. Sounds good, man. We appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
All right.
Appreciate everything you do for us, man.
Alrighty, man. Let me see. How do I get out of here?
I
think
got you
just like
right here. Yep. So I got Memphis Spence. Been a
Yeah,
while
man.
since we had him on, but good to catch up with him, and we'll get him back in the rotation again down the road for sure. Man, you gotta give us the lacrosse update, right? We gotta just make that a segment. We don't have like segments like every week like a lot of shows do. We just kind of do what we do, but we might have to just have a lacrosse minute or some kind of snazzy themed,
Well, she's doing it, man. She's doing it. She's played the last two games, the whole game, leading her team on the season, and a couple of stats that I'm still not 100% what it all means, but she's causing turnovers on the defensive end, and she scored a goal yesterday, and just doing it, man. It's her first couple of games, nerves, right? But she's on a little road trip right now, and she's not afraid to mix it up.
Yeah, that was probably what caught their eye. You talked about that on the high school level, how she was physical and liked to play defense, and it's translating clearly to the college level. So congratulations, and she kind of settling in, and if she's doing this already as a freshman, then hey, that's good stuff.
Yeah, that's my thing is she's starting to get a little physical with it, which is good, right? That's what I want. I sent you a little clip because I'm watching the play-by-play now, and she was going back and forth with this girl from the other team and took the ball from her twice. Like, okay, she's out here proving some points. So I'm just excited, man. It's great. Watching your kids do their thing and everything like that. So it's fantastic. On a little road trip, Michigan yesterday. No, Michigan this weekend, Wisconsin today. So she all over the place.
Wow, that's all right. That's all right. So they was playing in the cold temperatures yesterday, or was it still a little bit warmer? Was it?
No, they were playing in the cold yesterday. I think there was a little bit of light rain before it turned to snow. But no, she's doing great, and I'm glad to see her kind of doing her thing from afar. So it's fantastic. So she got all my support, and my youngest got the Kentucky State Indoor Track Championships tomorrow.
Okay, all right.
So her 4x200 team is running in that, and I'm like, this is fantastic. So I'm gonna, of course, watch that.
Yeah, absolutely.
and see how she's doing with that. But it's fantastic, man. I'm starting to learn a little bit about the rules. With some of this stuff. So I'm excited about that.
Hey, congratulations, man. That's good stuff. Proud moments for sure, man. For sure. We hit the Lakers hard with Memphis Spence and Luka and the Mavs, and which we know the Cats got one more regular season game left at Missouri, and then it's SEC tournament time. Debo Samuel has moved back to the East Coast now, so he's no longer with the Niners. But he requested a trade, and they Is that how that worked out, or was it?
Yeah, and we kind of figured it was coming because last year was not great Debo, and I think a lot of fans. It's one of those things where it was time. Like his 2021, as far as seasons go for me, was fantastic. He had a lot of games where it was like, all right, get on my back, I got you. I can't remember which. I think it was the game in Dallas in the postseason where it was touchdown time. Debo, there's that clip going around 49ers Twitter yelling at Kyle Shanahan, I got this. We going, and he gets into the end zone and the Niners win. Basically, I mean, he's limping in the postseason against the Packers, the Robbie Gould Snow game. No offensive touchdowns, but the Niners are driving. It's basically, all right, Robbie, where you want this, get it to the 30 left hash. And it's like, Debo, we're going to put this ball in your belly, man. And he did that. And that was what the Niners were about, was we're going to punch you in your face. And so I think that now it's time to turn the page. Ayuk got paid. I think Brandon Jennings is ready for a big year as far as receiving. I think Ricky Pearsall was delayed because, of course, he got shot before training camp. The Niners kind of think that he's going to be ready to go. Of course, you still got Kittle. So the 49ers still have weapons. I always thought that because of how Debo was, I think Shanahan went to him a little too much when it was clear that maybe Debo doesn't quite have it. And I thought that during last year's Super Bowl against the Chiefs, where it was like, and that's the frustrating thing, is one big play and the Niners win. Like if Debo can just give us one of those, I know it's a lot to ask, but just one of those where we just busted. Like we just needed one. Like they've got everybody locked down. We just need something, and we didn't get it. And this past year was not great. The highlight was when he got into a shoving match with a long snapper and our field goal kicker. Like, what are you doing? And then he had once he had that drop against the Rams, when the Niners were still kind of sort of clinging to playoff life, and he's wide open and just drops it. And the crowd at Levi was like, it wasn't even a boo. It was just one of those like, oh man. Right. I for me, it was the first time I can remember. I can't remember exactly the game. I remember the first time. It was maybe 98, 99. It was one of those playoff games against the Packers that the Packers won. And Steve Young hit Jerry in the hands, and he dropped it. And it was the first time in 12, 13 years, I was like, Jerry Rice dropped in that moment. And it was like, okay. Now Jerry proved us all wrong by being all pro with the Raiders as a 40-year-old. But it's just that moment where it's like, oh man.
That's right.
So I don't think the window is still closed for the Niners. At least I hope not. I don't know if we're going to continue that stretch of either miss the playoffs or go to the championship game, because that seems to be what we've done over the last 25 years. 7 NFC championship games, 15 missed the playoff. Like it's either feast or famine. So I don't know if we're going to keep that going, but yeah, Debo, number 19 Debo was a beast. He went to number 1 this past season. Don't give me number 1 Debo, but number 19 Debo was special. Is he going to be that level where maybe he gets honored? I don't know. But hey, that dude was really good for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's tough to see him go, but that's the business. Like I said, I've watched Jerry Rice go to the Raiders and then the Seahawks. I saw Joe Montana out here for the Kansas City Chiefs. Sports be like that sometimes, right? Like it's just And what always hits me with that is all these sports people. Well, you're ruining your legacy. Really? Like, I mean, we talk about Emmitt Smith for the Cardinals as like, oh, that was weird to see, right? But does that change anything? Like,
No.
How you feel about Emmitt, does it change they didn't retire as a Cowboy?
No. Still an
No,
all-time leading rusher. Still remember him breaking the record against Seattle, even though it was the team wasn't as good as it used to be. That was still a highlight for that. You know, you knew it was winding down and the prime was in the past, but still good to see him break the record as a Cowboy. He still wanted to play and go on to Arizona. Okay, but he's still a Cowboy. It wasn't like we banished him.
No,
you know.
That's always dumb for sports. Like, oh, you ruined your legacy. Really? You know, they pull up, Johnny Unitas on the Chargers. That's not how we remember.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We don't remember that version of these guys at the end. So for me, hey, love Debo. He was great. He had a bunch of moments. One of my favorites is when he broke the Eagles last year. The last really great Debo game.
Okay.
That 42-19 win, and it wasn't even that close.
That's right.
Yeah, and so I'm hoping we can bounce back like the Eagles did, and kind of get our mind right, tweak a few things, and get right back in it.
Yeah, but you still got McCaffrey back. He should be good, right?
McCaffrey, everything I've seen is he's good to go. You're still going to have Kittle. Trent Williams, again, this is year 15 maybe, but he still can anchor that front line. So the offensive weapons are going to be there. The thing is that the lines have to be better, right? It can't just be Trent blocking on the offensive line, and it can't just be Bosa getting pressure on the defensive line. Like, we got to get better on the lines. I love the defensive backs. I think they're solid there. I'd love to see him bring back Greenlaw on the defensive side as a linebacker. Yeah. Because, again, in that Super Bowl, he had Travis Kelce in hell. And then he tears his ACL. And all of a sudden, Kelce gets 8 or 9 catches and whatever. But I think it's still open. Is there a team that I'm probably more – obviously, I've got to be concerned about the Eagles. Right?
Oh, no, yeah, for sure.
But outside of the Eagles – I'm still, if we get healthy, I don't feel like I'm worried about anybody. Now, that could prove me wrong in this upcoming season, but yeah, I'm okay. Like, it's sad that Debo's gone, but that's, sometimes family break up.
Yes, that's it. Well, the Cats are still going to avoid playing on Wednesday, right? Looks like we're going.
Yeah, man. Look,
right. We had to get that in.
Last night was great. It was fun. We needed a game like that, where I didn't have to clean.
That's right.
Oh, it's going to be one of these games, and we need a game like that. But we got to point out, like, those are tougher to come by simply because the league is better. And I think a lot of Kentucky fans need to take a step back and realize, yes, we won 50-11 SEC championships, regular season and tournament. But I think it's also fair to say the other league wasn't really that concerned. Now, if you Auburn and Charles Barkley fall to you, yeah, you'll go. Like Georgia, they still will remind you Dominique Wilkins played here, right? But night for night, in this league, it's tougher than it was.
Yeah.
Where it's not just one or two teams, you got to go deep to get to LSU. Look how many games we played this year to get to a comfortable game.
Yeah.
And it's not just Kentucky was bad. It's like the other teams are just good. The Mississippi schools are better. that's the thing about Tennessee. Mississippi State has been to a Final Four.
That's yep. Mm-hmm.
South Carolina has been to a Final Four. And South Carolina went with, I know they had that Cedarius Thornhill.
Oh, yeah.
But like, that's not an all-time great, right? Like, that's not. But that's my point is Tennessee, like, it should have happened at some point.
Yeah.
If you are a high-level team, like the list of, I guess, Power 4, Power 5 teams that haven't been to a Final Four, I think there's like 8, if I remember correctly. And there's way more teams that, like, teams stumble into it. Stanford has stumbled into a Final Four.
Yeah.
I know people like, again, I always say about 98 that people don't really give the 98 championship team a lot of credit because you end with Stanford and Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And the content, you have to give context that, like, no, at that point, those teams are really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they had NBA dudes on those teams.
Yep.
But with the SEC, do I think, looking ahead, that Pope's going to get this thing going? Yes. Because we've seen what he's able to do against these top teams. The thing is, we got to cross that finish line against the lesser teams.
Yep.
That's the thing. People talk about, nobody fears Kentucky. We got to make you fear us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, to paraphrase Al McGuire, right, when Rupp was there, Kentucky put fear in people, and teams like, oh, he gone. Now's our time. And Joe B was like, hold on,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We've got Joe B out. Eddie Sutton, even though we know how it ended, but they had that almost Final Four in '86,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and was whooping everybody, right? And then, of course, Rick does. Like, every generation of SEC fans got to be reminded of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So we got this brave new world. We'll figure it out.
Yep.
I said this on Round of Shots on Sunday. I'm not worried about it. Kentucky basketball eats. Whatever iteration of college basketball there is, Kentucky basketball is going to eat. And I got faith in Pope.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's got a proof of concept. Right? These guys that came for the 1 year, they're going to be a very well-remembered team.
Yeah.
Because most people, myself included, thought there was going to be a drop-off when Cal left. Simply because he never buys groceries for tomorrow's dinner. It's everything he buys is for tonight's dinner.
Uh-huh.
And so I thought there was going to be a drop-off, right? But Pope got these guys with a year of eligibility to buy in,
mm-hmm.
to sacrifice, to grow. Kobe Brea, his numbers are about the same, but he's playing in a much tougher conference,
mm-hmm.
right? Amari Williams is doing stuff. Remember when the chatter was Amari couldn't play?
Yeah.
From our own fans. And then he went out and had a triple-double, and now he's like one of the most efficient players in college basketball.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, the injuries derailed this team a little bit.
Yep. That's it.
And so when that happens, it's a little rough. But hey, this team, there were so many boxes that Pope and this team checked.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be upset. Like, we talked about it. I'm tired of watching these championship classic games and being like, well, we almost had it. I just want to get it one time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Duke fans can say what they want to. That was a loss for them and a win for us. I don't care if it was November. That's not that. Yeah. Was it this season?
Sure was.
Okay, then it counts,
mm-hmm.
right? And so, continue to beat Louisville. And look, Louisville fans, they're ranked higher in the AP, I think. Yay for them. I love what Kelsey has done. He's brought that fire back. But slow down because the ACC is historically bad.
Yes.
They are a three-bid team, our conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Because between Duke and Clemson and Louisville, those top 3 teams, they haven't played anybody with a pulse in months, except each other. So we'll see if eating cupcakes, we'll see what that does to get you ready. And I'm not saying that Duke isn't talented, but
it hasn't been tested in forever.
Right. Right. So we'll see how that goes. You know, but as far as Kentucky, I think they take care of business in Columbia, in Como, and go into the postseason. For this team, I want them to make it to the second weekend. I believe they still have that.
No.
Because if we get the Colin Chandler that we have seen the last few games with his shooting and his ball handling, I like that.
Nice little new dimension for us.
Right. You're right. Take a little bit of pressure off of Butler.
And Brea. And Brea.
Right. And allows people to play more naturally to what they're suited. I like how this team can go. I still love the energy that Trent Noah played with last night. You know, kind of, it's hard to gauge when the game is out of reach early. But the one thing I've tried to stress to my girls is it sounds like coach speak, right? Don't play to the score, play to what your responsibility is. Because as soon as you start playing to the score, you don't stop until it's 0-0. Like yesterday, Sarah's first goal came, they were already down like 8 or 9 points. You keep playing. That's how you build those habits. Doesn't matter what the scoreboard says, we're going to keep this going. So I'm still figuring to give Coach Pope an A. The same way we're giving Coach Brooks an A.
Yeah.
With first team All SEC Georgia Amore, SEC Defensive Player of the Year Claire Strack. Depending on how it shakes out in the SEC tournament. Although I think they're kind of locked into hosting the first 2 rounds at historic Memorial Coliseum. And who saw that coming?
Yeah.
We talk about, and this is where the Coach of the Year debate. What's your criteria for Coach of the Year? Is it the team that is supposed to be good but kind of becomes great? Or is it the team that was terrible last year, no one picked to do anything, that does something? Like that's one of those things. And too often I just hear Kenny Brooks and Kentucky I'm like, no, they brought a bunch of new faces in too.
Yeah. And dramatic turnaround.
And
it was.
Hey, they're gonna get South Carolina again in the tournament. I think. Watch out. Watch out. Because they had South Carolina on the ropes. So I'm excited. I really am. I think depth might still be a thing this year, depending on how they play. But with the longer timeouts and that kind of stuff, that kind of bounces out anyway. And most coaches are only going 7, maybe 8 deep at this stage anyway.
They've been used to that all year. So
we'll see how it goes. That's what kills me. People talk about the 38-1, the platoons, and I'm like, they weren't platooning at the end of the year.
No.
It balanced itself out. But anyway, we got 2 coaches that are keeping the University of Kentucky in basketball top 15 programs all season.
Yeah, and
I'm like, that's what it should be. The expectation for the men is what it is, right? But the women should be up there too, because why not? Right?
So just enjoyed every bit of it. I mean, 2 enjoyable seasons, year 1 for both of these guys, and so they off to a good start and got good recruits coming in, and they'll continue to build on that. So here we go.
Some of the recruits, it's one of those things. not so much about the rankings, but who are you in the same orbit of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we got some recruit. It's like Kentucky, Louisville, like UConn, like that. Those you want to get on those lists, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where people are looking at your program. And what's beautiful about women's basketball is it's not just UConn and Tennessee and Stanford.
Yep.
You've got programs all over the country that are growing. And what's really cool about it is you've got some of these greats elevating like their hometown, home state program.
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin Clark here in Iowa, Juju at USC, Asia Wilson at South Carolina. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to go to stores and be one of 5 to noise,
Yeah.
right? That's what Coach Brooks saying. Like, hey, I got to a Final Four out of Virginia Tech.
Sure did.
And when's the last time you've heard anything basketball out of Virginia Tech other than Ace Custis? Google that one. That's a Metro
Ooh.
Conference name for you.
Oh
Ace
my God.
Custis.
Wow.
I just knew because he had an Ace of Spades tattoo on his arm way back when. I was like, ooh, Ace Custis. And Bimbo Coles, which is just a fun name to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Virginia Tech, outside of Michael Vick, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So I love it. I love the women's game. I'm starting to become more and more involved in it as far as watching it and just understanding. Like it's just different.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's basketball. It's just different.
Yep.
And once you understand that, hey, it works out.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show. We hope y'all enjoyed this show because it was fun to do. Fun having you in here. It became the technical difficulties. We had Memphis Spence in here, and that was enjoyable. So we tournament times, March Madness time. So here we go, man.
It's March. I got to pull out my shirt where it's January, February, Kentucky, April.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling good about that. And I just love basketball, man. I'm a watch it all. Here in town, Drake basketball has been really, really good, and I just want to watch all those tournaments and all that kind of stuff. And I'm excited. I'm excited to fill out some brackets.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do some brackets with my barber. Even though he still says how things are going with KU, I'm like, look, man, I ain't gonna keep telling you this. KU is the Jayhawks. UK is the Wildcats.
Yeah.
See, it's
school him up.
Yeah.
Oh man, we enjoyed it. Congrats to Sarah. She continues doing her thing.
Yeah.
Thanks to Memphis Spence. Stay warm. Get that blizzard out of there. I hope it melts away soon. And
we got more snow coming on Friday. So
boy.
I'm gonna get you your soccer shirt.
Oh yeah, but
man, I thought I was bidding on a 2013 soccer jersey, not 13 actual jerseys. And my wife's like, "What are you filling the team?" I'm like, I guess so. Like, what?
Yeah, man. That's hilarious, boy. So hey. Oh well, thank you for that too. And just when it warms up, don't even try to, it ain't worth freezing and getting out there in that weather for that. But yeah.
All good, man. Thank y'all for watching. We'll be back and do it again, I'm sure.
That's right. Absolutely. So appreciate everybody. Go Cats and enjoy March Madness. So we'll see everybody next week. Cats Talk Wednesday, BS3 Network. See y'all later. All right. All right. Yeah. I guess it's out. I don't know. But I was just
just close us out. We good.
that's
a wrap.
That's it. I'll see you later, man.
All right, man. Bye.
See you.